Let's paint the picture. There's a scent of cheap floor wax and frozen pizza. And suddenly, we're back in 1994, sitting cross-legged in front of a heavy tube TV, waiting for that yellow and blue logo to pop up. It's TGIF. Boy Meets World was the staple of TGIF, with a Brillo pad hair and a neighbor who treated doing good like a sacred commandment. Wistful Wednesday's Boy Meets World. Today, this is Parallel Frequencies. I am Just Blane. That is Coco, and you are the freaks. What's up, Coco? You ready for Boy Meets World?
I'm so ready.
Yeah.
I've been doing the rewatch for several weeks now, so I got a lot to talk about.
Can't wait for this. I love this. I love sitcoms. And this is one from TGIF, and that right there touches it tickles my nostalgic point, you know? Like, it really does. And there were so many shows that were part of TGIF that were so good.
It was so great to know that you were going to sit down, like, at the end of the week, finally got done with, you know, your school week or whatever. You've been, like, waiting for it, something to look forward to. And there was going to be this lineup of shows that, like, not one of them was bad, right? Like, not one of them you would skip. You just get to sit down and watch it all night.
It was the fastest 2 hours on TV. And it was like, because it was you got to see 4 shows every Friday night, and they alternated during the seasons. And every one of them, like you said, you could not skip them. I've always been a fan of sitcoms, and I just love the 23-minute, it's 30 minutes, but 23 with the commercials. I love 23-minute episodes. There's something about it. There really is.
Yeah.
Speaking of, another one of my favorite shows, Big Bang Theory. We talked about this show before, right?
Mm-hmm.
We never really broken it down, but I think I said something about the Big Bang Theory has got more spinoffs than any other show I can think of. And guess what has hit the wire? Look at this. Can you see this?
Yeah.
If you're watching this on our video, there's a picture of 4 Big Bang Theory characters. This is not an old picture. There's a new spinoff coming this summer, and there's Stuart right there. And the whole show revolves around Stuart, and it's Stuart fails to save the universe.
Well, it's about time Stuart got his time, right?
I'm gonna tell you what, I think Stuart is my favorite character from Big Bang.
You know, the actor was supposed to play Howie.
Yes.
And, you know, scheduling conflicts, or he got sick. I can't remember the exact story, but then the actor that ended up playing Howie was in that role instead. Did a fantastic job. We all love Howie, right?
Yeah.
But this guy who plays Stuart, he ended up playing alongside him on the series, you know, as Stuart, knowing that was the role he was supposed to have, and still, like, no animosity, just like, yep, he killed it. I'm just happy to be Stuart. We're all friends. It's all great.
Yeah.
What a great guy to not have jealousy or anything.
Yeah, I think so too. And I gotta say though that the plot for this sounds wild. And Stuart was like I said, my favorite character from Big Bang. I think he's hilarious. I think some of the stuff he says, I think he was underrated almost. Like it's Kevin Sussman is who plays Stuart. Kevin Sussman is the guy's name. And the plot for Stuart fails to save the universe is basically Stuart messes up a machine that Leonard and Sheldon have made and ruins the world. And I'm like, I thought it was a joke when I was reading about it, but it's not. This is 1,000,000%.
So that's what happened. Did this happen around like 2016? Are they going to do a flashback to that time? Is that what happened? Are we all supposed to, we're in the middle of an apocalypse here and it's because of Stuart?
That'd be great. I don't know how that's going to work. But well, I know that
Stuart, that's all I have to say.
I don't know who we're going to see from the original show come in. Probably not. You probably won't see Johnny Galecki, you know, Leonard and Sheldon. They might make cameos.
That would be great. I love a good cameo.
Yeah, right? But I was pumped when I saw that info, that news hit, because I was such a fan of Stuart. And in the later seasons is when he really starts to bloom. And he really becomes a more of a main character in the series. So, yeah, I had to throw that out there. We're going to have to do Big Bang Theory at some point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And not in the comedy sitcom era, but I was just watching an interview with John Hamm this morning, and I realized, you know, we got to do a rewatch of Mad Men too, in the drama category. But like, man, it's been a while since I saw it originally, and I bet a rewatch is just about time for that.
That's a good one. I like that. We should put that on there. we keep thinking we're going to run out of shows or movies to talk about. And we always think about, every time we do that, we think about like 8 other movies or shows. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, put that on the list. Put that on the list.
Put it on the list.
But today is Wistful Wednesday / TGIF, because it might as well be. But Boy Meets World, to me, it was a game changer. It was the coming of age. We grew up with this. I feel like I grew up with Cory and Topanga. What about you?
Yeah,
You the same way?
Yeah. This was like, I'm sure you feel the same way. Our generation had crushes on characters of shows like Boy Meets World. And it wasn't until maybe I saw Danielle Fishel on Dancing with the Stars this last season, maybe that I realized that I didn't just have a crush on Ryder Strong or Sean Hunter, as most people did in my generation. And also Eric Matthews, Will Friedle, that played or Friedel. I'm not sure how you say his last name, but yeah, such, they were cute for all of us girls in that age range. But then I'm thinking to myself, man, I definitely had a girl crush on Danielle. She is adorable. Oh, all of us wanted hair like hers. Try our best, but it doesn't quite look like that.
She's a great Instagram follow.
Yeah.
She is fun.
I love the messages that she's putting out there. I love the stances that she takes. She's just like Topanga in that she's like not going to take crap, right? She's like, I'm saying what's what.
Yeah. And we got to shout out too, because Pod Meets World is their podcast where they break down episodes of Boy Meets World. They just did, I don't know, the wedding I saw was one that was done. All the episodes they do. And it's Will Friedle, Ryder Strong, and Danielle doing that show together. And I think that show is incredible. That's probably my favorite podcast. I have to admit, that's my favorite show out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do a great job. And I love, the details that they bring out, like what it was like being on set, what it was like. And they don't hold anything back. They're not over here acting like it was all just so great. They are critical of some of the writing and some of the things that, I saw one of those episodes they were talking about Sean's leather jacket trauma. Like every time Sean's wearing a leather jacket, it's because it's going to be a Sean's trauma episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
They just broke down
the tea.
They were just talking about the episode where the bear was in the classroom and they were in the seats. And they were talking about how they got handed a bunch of pamphlets like, don't move fast, don't do this. But they're sitting there covered in honey. What did it matter? And I thought that was good.
Rewatch, I think I realized what a goofy show this was. I mean, it had its really real, very down to earth, let's talk about the hard things episodes, but they weren't afraid to get really goofy too, like really goofy with it. So.
Yeah, and that's a credit to Michael Jacobs. Michael Jacobs is the creator of this entire show, and April Kelly, but Michael Jacobs directly. And it's like he made sure to give you a good mix of goofiness and life lessons all in one. During my rewatch, this is what I noticed. I started looking at this, and there's 7 seasons of existential dread. 1 legendary Feeny call, 3 different actresses playing the same little sister, give or take a disappearance into the ether. But there's countless life lessons delivered by a man who looked like he was born wearing a cardigan already, George Feeny, who I feel like he taught all of us, not just the kids in that classroom, but he was teaching us at home at the same time, was he not?
Yeah. And to have Mr. Feeny's patience when it comes to young, youthful idiots.
Oh my God.
I will channel Mr. Feeny when my boys get to that 12, 13, 15-year-old age.
And William Daniels, incredible, because I don't think he acted at all. I think this is who he is. I think he's a Mr. Feeny in real life. He's 99 years old now, by the way.
Yeah.
Still teaching stuff, still teaching life lessons. And he helped raise us. He doesn't realize that. He raised a whole generation of kids.
Yep.
By
all
teaching
of us millennials.
And I always thought it was awesome, the fact that he grew with them. It was like they couldn't escape Mr. Feeny. He was their teacher every year and then became the principal. I'm like, when does this happen? But
he goes to high school with them.
Yeah.
And then on the graduation episode, which I was just watching the other day, they were graduating high school and he's announced his retirement. And lo and behold, wait, just wait, hold on. Not
Hold on a
yet.
minute.
He got a job as a professor at the college they all got into.
And just so happens it's the same classes that they're taking. Now, I've been to college. I went to 4 different colleges. This don't happen. There ain't no way. First of all, you don't get classes with all your friends.
Oh, no, right?
That's one thing that's like, no. And you're
You have
not
to
going to
work
get the
pretty
same
hard at
teacher that you
that.
had
Yeah.
in high school, junior high, and middle school. Not going to happen. But it worked in the show. And we really watched this, and it wasn't necessarily for just entertainment. To me, it was a weekly survival guide. We were growing up. We were in school at the same time this was all happening. You got to see real life chaos of what a middle schooler, junior high, high schooler goes through while we were going through it at the same time. All the crushes, all the embarrassments, all the everything that they showed in this show was happening in real life to us, to the
Yeah.
kids in school. And that's
Yeah.
why it
Real
clicked.
questions were, arose out of relationships getting really serious, really young.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the thing that stood out to me the most, having been a person who married very young and my first boyfriend and my first kiss. So Cory and Topanga's story is very familiar to me. But there is something romanticized about that, of like, it's your first love and you just never let go. It's never, I almost at this age now appreciate the story of Fred Savage's show, The Wonder Years.
Yeah.
You remember it was the same kind of deal with Winnie Cooper. And, it was like you thought they were just going to be together forever. And I remember the disappointment I felt in the very last episode when he's like, Winnie went on to marry so-and-so and I married so-and-so. And, we met up again years later, me with my newborn son and my wife. And I remember being a kid going, wait, what?
Yep.
They delivered with Cory and Topanga in that like romanticized, like, we've been together for 17 years. We were toddlers in the sandbox together.
Yeah.
And then the wedding and their life as newlyweds. But I appreciate that they also show kind of some real sticky points to that romanticized version of young love, which is Topanga had to give up a lot. She had to leave her parents and come, so she could be back with Cory and finish high school with him.
And
she
that,
gave
right
up
there,
Yale.
that episode, those episodes right there are the peak to me of Boy Meets World.
Mm-hmm.
It's called A Long Walk to Pittsburgh Part 1 and 2. And that's where the viewers, we were broken. And that's when Topanga had to move away.
Yeah.
They had to break up, and we thought it was going to be the end. And then she shows up in part 2, pouring rain. She's wet. And I'm talking about, that's one of the most iconic moments.
Yep, we all remember that.
Oh my God. And I remember watching that at home live, and everybody let out that sigh of relief. Like, oh, they're back together. Thank God they're back together. The world is whole again because Cory and Topanga aren't going to be split up. And I love that episode. There's so many episodes that have these moments.
But they have a lot of trials to it too. I mean, being each other's only and forever so young. I mean, there's a lot of codependency patterns that those of us who have married young, we've had to sort through those things as well. We're familiar with this idea that we raised each other. And we aren't always going to be the same people forever. And there are moments where, I mean, later on in college and after Cory and Topanga get married, she's like, I gave up Yale.
Yeah.
I gave up Yale to be someone's wife? And that's not wrong. It doesn't mean she doesn't love Cory or that she regrets anything. I mean, I think there are plenty of us who, here I am married 21 years and I'm not regretting anything, but I'm also saying, wow, there is a lot of nuances to it that you heal and grow as you go through life together like that.
We do see some of this later on in Girl Meets World, and everything does end up being perfect for Topanga and Cory.
Perfect, but okay.
A little too perfect, and there's no regret or anything like that. I could see that, but then again, if I'm Cory Matthews, ain't no way in hell I'm letting a girl like Topanga get away from me. So,
right. He was the smart one. Yeah.
Yeah. He should have known the entire time that he was moving on up with, he was, what do they call that? Out of your range, or kicking out of your
out of your
whatever,
league.
out of your
Yeah.
league. Let's talk
She's a
about
little bit
this.
out of his league, but also not just because she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
We could talk about looks all day, but Topanga has this old world wisdom from the very beginning. And remember, they kind of pegged her as this sort of weird woo-woo
Yeah.
like girl who believes in energies and chakras, and she's talking about these things at what were they, 11
11,
in the
12, yeah.
first season? Yeah, so she's kind of pegged as this weird girl, and she's got all this wisdom and all this like kind of Buddhist monk air about her. And these two idiot boys,
Yeah.
which I don't know, is kind of familiar to me. That's a little bit how middle school felt to me, where I was like, what
Yeah.
are they doing, boys? Like, what are they thinking? But yeah, they made fun of her. That they weren't in love, okay, in the beginning. This was not love at first sight. They were like, girls, ew.
Yeah.
And all the things, until you see that evolve over the seasons. And she takes that wisdom and becomes kind of like this emotional glue for everybody.
Yeah.
You see how she's, I mean, you talk Mr. Feeny is like the guy they all go to for advice, but she also kind of holds the space for
she does.
emotions. And yeah.
I think season 3, the beginning of season 3, they make a reference to her growing up in a nice way because she's got boobs and everything. This was over
subtle references to her maturity.
Yeah, but that's when they start noticing. And that's when she changes from this weird girl with this weird hair to, what is this? Like it's new. It's new for these young boys. Yeah. And I love all of the characters, but let's go into them a little bit. Like Cory Matthews is the everyman or neurotic or a mix of both. He's not an athlete, not really a rebel, not really the genius. He's just kind of there, nervous, curly haired, and obsessed with Topanga. Who wouldn't be?
And Sean, his best friend.
Yeah, but
there was that
Cory's like
Cory's
like an average Joe, and then you got Sean, which shifts the gears to this wrong side of the tracks type of trope. He doesn't just have problems. It's 90s trauma that only a trailer park and a missing mom could provide. That's what he's going through. And you see these stark differences in Cory and Sean, but they're like this. And I think that says a lot too. It says a lot for
each other really well. And I think what people maybe miss about why Sean Hunter was so attractive, not just that he's cute, like, he's got that little hair thing going where it kind of falls over one eye.
Oh yeah.
So cute. But aside from that, I just want to, I'm kind of speaking for all the girls who my age, like had that crush on Sean. It wasn't that he was a bad boy, kind of a rebel. He was going to break your heart and you knew it. It wasn't that. It was that deep down you could see that he really did have a heart of gold.
Yeah.
You really knew that there's a reason why this good kid, Cory Matthews, who's just like the good kid, is friends with him. And that they are so good together is because, you can see that Sean's just really deep down. He's a really caring, good guy. So
this was the bromance. This was the bromance before the word bromance was even around, I believe.
Totally, yeah.
You're bringing up a good question there. It's almost like, why did we at home all want to be the kid with the tragic backstory instead of the kid with the stable house and the nice parents and everything going good for him? I related more to Sean. Like, I was like, he's the cool one. If you wanted to put yourself in somebody's shoes, it was Sean. It wasn't Cory.
Experience. Real world street smart experience. I mean, when your life is a little too cushy and you haven't been tested, maybe that puts you in a naive position when you're going out into the world, which is what this is about, boy meeting the world. I mean, Cory kind of plays that role of like, his life has been pretty great. It's been pretty sweet. He's got these like idealistic two parents who love him and have a great marriage and, little sister, big brother, all the, the only thing missing was the dog. I don't think they had a dog, but, he had all of that going for him. And he had a teacher who is willing not only to be his neighbor, but to be there for every step of his life, creating the stability and consistency that would be, anybody would be appreciative of that kind of guidance. Like, Feeny's always going to be there.
And William Daniels played the role of Feeny like he was delivering Shakespeare to a bunch of kids in baggy jeans. Do good, not do well, but do good.
Yeah.
And think about the authority figures we have now. Where's the Feeny? Where's the person who calls you out on your crap because they actually want you to be a better human? And that's what he was doing the entire series, was calling them out and letting them know, hey, that's not right.
Yeah.
Or, and that, I think we were all
giving them really nuanced lessons, very strategic, facilitated lessons that would allow them to come to that conclusion on their own. And that was, kind of what he became known for, was he wouldn't he didn't spoon feed them the answers. He allowed them an opportunity to be tested, to learn those things.
I've got a question for you and the freaks. Who's the Feeny? Did you have a Feeny? A Mr. Feeny?
I guess the closest that I would have had is just a mentor teacher. When I was first out in my new career as a teacher, I was 23, first graduated from college, and my first kindergarten class that I was teaching, kind of didn't know what I was doing, but I had teachers and the principal at the school that I taught at. I was lucky enough to be at a really, really small charter school, but I had these incredible people around me that were like willing to take me under their wing. They were like, "You're doing great. Let me know if you need any help." I probably drove them all crazy because I overthought everything. And I would just walk into their offices and be like, "I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Can I talk at you for a little bit and then see if we can come up with a solution to this problem I'm having?" And so they had to kind of, I don't know, deal with me. They had to be like, "All right, go ahead and talk at me for an hour if you need to,
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got one. I've got a couple, but I've got one who he saw something in me that nobody else did. Mr. Lowe, high school teacher. This guy let me get away with anything. And I wasn't doing anything bad, but he let me get away with anything. And then we had this awards show, this awards banquet thing. And I got invited. I'm thinking, what the hell am I? Why am I in here with all these 4.0 straight A students? All these awards get given out. And I'm just there, and there's one award left for the night. And Mr. Wardlow gets up there to present it. And I remember him talking about it. Talking about the student that was going to get this award, and he's going on and he's saying, "I've never seen anybody be able to use the right brain, left brain all together. There's big things coming from this guy and all this, and this is the only award that had a cash monetary value." And he calls my name, and I got $500 from him, and it was for creativity. I don't know what it was even really for. And you're supposed to take that money and buy your books in college. I went and I bought my first pair of turntables. And I think that turned out okay for me. Because if it wasn't for all of that, I don't know.
You are today.
I may have never went to LA. I may have never gotten into music, may have never gotten into radio. But he believed in me enough and did it. I actually paid it back to him, and he doesn't know it. I produced the Rush special on Apple, and we interviewed Geddy Lee and the members of Rush, and Mr. Wardlow's favorite band was Rush. So the entire time I put that together, I had him in mind putting this thing together. So yeah, man, that's my Mr. Feeny. It just popped in my head.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
And I love that there's a teacher who says it's not always just about getting that 4.0 grades. I was not a 4.0 student. I know I may seem like it today, but I wasn't. Okay. I was like a A's and B's and an occasional C's student. Yeah. I was a that's good enough student, not I'm looking for perfection.
Yeah.
Student. But to be recognized for I see you. I see what you've got to offer that doesn't translate to grades. Mm-hmm. Or maybe sometimes it does. I don't know what your grades were, but for the most part, it didn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter what that letter is on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Love that. I think that's what Mr. Feeny saw in Sean. I mean, Sean didn't always show up academically ready for the whatever the lesson was that day, but he saw something in these kids in that, watching them grow up through the seasons in the series, helping them believe in themselves and what they had to offer, that they were really going to make it. They were going to be okay. And I have that to say too about the Boy Meets World as we look at the entire series. As I watched it from first episode and all the way through, and I realized when you watch it all the way through that quickly, it does grow with you, or grew with the audience that was watching it. So the humor and the topics and the conversations and even the kind of cheesy goofiness about it was more so appropriate for like 11 and 12-year-olds when it started. But as Cory and Topanga and Sean grow through the seasons, you see more and more adult humor, more and more. There was an episode I was watching, a Halloween episode, where it turned out the whole episode was a dream, one of those. But they had a murderer chasing them and trying to kill them all. And Eric quotes South Park several times in the episode. And I was like, that feels really out of place.
Yes.
South Park being like very adult. And then, he was like, oh my gosh, they killed Kenny. And I was like,
yeah,
what? But it did. It kind of grew the topics about sex and marriage and drug use and alcoholism and abusive fathers. I mean, these topics, they became more in depth and more mature as they matured, which I don't know if you really see that a whole lot in sitcoms.
No, and I think that episode you're talking about is and then there was Sean. It had a guest appearance from Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. I remember that episode.
Right.
Love that episode. But you're right. Like, there's a total dark side to this show in a good way. And it's balancing. It grounds the goofiness. The tonal shifts. You got this goofy stuff. You got middle school kids going from middle school to episodes about being in cults, drinking, showing the realities of poverty. That's not fun and games anymore. And it's real life. And Boy Meets World was showing us a lot of that too. The episode with the cult, that's one of my favorite episodes. Cult
that
Fiction.
was neat.
And that's a powerful, very powerful episode. First of all, Jonathan Turner, he disappears. We never see him again after this motorcycle accident in this episode. So I don't know if it's R.I.P. Mr. Turner.
Well, there is a mention of him on the graduation episode. I love how Boy Meets World does not shy away from making fun of itself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we had graduation episode, Lee Norris, who played Minkus.
Yes.
And Minkus was in the earlier episodes, right? And then just kind of disappeared. He was like the nerdy little kid in the first few seasons. And then he kind of disappears. And then graduation episode happens and he shows up out of nowhere and they're like, where have you been? And he goes, I'm usually on the other side of the school. And he points to the camera, past the camera, there's a whole other side of the school. And they look at that like, there's another side to the school.
I love it.
He goes, yeah. He goes, I've been here this whole time. And then he's like, oh, wait, there's Mr. Turner. Hey, Mr. Turner. And he walks off camera. I laughed so hard. That was so fun.
That's not the end of Mr. Turner, though, because Girl Meets World, he shows up and he's a teacher.
Wow.
So he's still alive. He's still around. He's still in the universe. But I did love that I guess it was last season when they said, we're on the other side of the school.
It's over there.
Now, I wonder if we're going to see a Boy Meets World spinoff with the other side of the school. That'd be fun.
Yeah, what was going on with Minkus this whole time?
Minkus shows back up in Girl Meets World, too. He's got a kid or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I did see that episode. I haven't watched a lot of Girl Meets World, but I did see that they have like this kid that's following them around. And
I'm going to tell you, Girl Meets World was great. I knew pretty quick that it wasn't going to last. And that's because Sabrina Carpenter. And I was like, she's going to be a star. She's going to be way too big for this. And that's kind of what happened. I got a funny story about Girl Meets World. I was a huge fan, and I was working right down the street from where they filmed it. Got me a ticket, went down there because I heard, I loved going to live tapings and stuff when I was in LA, if I could. And I went down there and I heard, you get to meet Cory, Topanga, you get to talk to him. And I'm like, cool, that'd be awesome. And I get there and this place is packed. And it's all these little kids, little girls, and they're talking about how everybody's not going to get in. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, man, I'm a grown-ass man here by myself. You guys can have my one ticket. I'll catch it next time. And then they canceled the damn show, so I never got to see a taping. But I did give up my seat for some child that day to be able to see.
Oh, I'm sure that meant the world to them. It was
I
worth
hope
it
so.
for that reason.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think they would appreciate it. I think they did.
Because I was probably going to propose to Topanga if I got in there to see Danielle. No, I'm kidding. I do love her.
Me too. Super love her.
I just want to say that, like, we've been talking for a while about Boy Meets World, and I don't even think I've scratched the surface of what I would love to get into. We got to bring this back again. We got to
We can
maybe
talk about
break down specific seasons, or maybe we'll get one of the members of the show to come on. I'm gonna work on that.
I would
We'll
love
see.
that. Hey, Danielle,
Danielle,
Ryder,
please. Danielle, come talk to us.
anybody. It doesn't have to be the top 3, but anybody I'd be welcome to talk to about it. And before we end, that's one of the other great things about this show is all the cameo appearances.
Oh,
Every member of the Monkees makes it into one episode and they actually play a song, but they aren't a band in the show. They're different characters that end up together and play a song. And I loved I was a huge Monkees fan.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the Monkees. I loved their TV show, Nick at Night. Anyway, so that was super fun for me to see again in the rewatch. And then is there anything more 90s than any one of the Lawrence brothers?
no, not at all.
Joey Lawrence, Matthew Lawrence, Andy Lawrence, but Matthew Lawrence playing a character in the later episodes of Jack Hunter, Sean's half brother that shows up for college and hangs out. Man, he's cute. He's another real cutie that I would not mind meeting in real life. He's
You know what?
cute.
Everybody they put into this show was a cutie.
I know.
Strong, Danielle, even Cory, Ben Savage in his own way. He's adorable too. And then you had later on, when they started growing up, you got some more hotties in there with Trina McGee. You had her come in. You had Rachel Maitland come in as, what was her name on the show? She ended up in porn. She ended up doing some porn later on.
Yeah.
You had a lot of these people that were all hotties on the show. Even Eric was a good-looking dude. Like they all were.
I mean, he played probably the goofiest character of all of them. I think, he was the comic relief in any heavy moment.
Yeah.
And kind of an idiot, right? Like he was playing kind of somebody who never got the answer right, always said something stupid. But early on, he was one of my favorites. I was really like, he's so cute.
My favorite cameo in all of it was probably, besides seeing Big Vader in there in the wrestling episode, and they said he was a sweetheart behind the scenes. This guy's scary as hell in real life, and they said he was a sweetheart. He's no longer with us. He's passed away now. But my other favorite was Adam Scott. Do you remember Adam Scott being a bully on here?
Dude, I totally did. I totally forgot to make a note of it, because when I saw him, I was like, look who's on here.
I know.
That's incredible. And it was just like real quick. Like he's like super in and out.
There's a lot of people that were in this show.
Amazing. Jennifer Loves You, of course, which you brought up in the...
Melissa Joan Hart, another 3-namer. Candace Cameron Burr, another 3-namer. They were both in there. That's DJ from Full House. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Right? Brittany Murphy.
I think some of those were those crossover episodes where they're doing the TGIF crossover stuff. I love that too. I mean, who didn't?
I'm a sucker for that stuff. I'm like, look who it is.
You know what? On that note, we should start doing crossover podcast episode. We're going to do some crossovers with some people, some other podcasts.
And I actually don't need to talk or anything. I would just love it if somebody was doing a podcast like we're doing right now, and I just walk past in the background.
That's a cool.
I'd be so happy.
That's a cool cameo. We'll start doing it. Well, look, we're going to have to come back to TGIF. We may do more shows from TGIF. The dinosaur show. We got to do that show. I love that show.
Yeah. You got to add that to the list.
So many. What? You know what? This is for the freaks before we get out of here. What's your favorite TGIF show?
Mm-hmm. Yep, send it in. I want to know.
Yeah. When you turned on TGIF on Friday night ABC, what was the show? I know you watched all 4 every night, but what was the one that you could not live without? Mine was Boy Meets World. This was the one for me.
Wow.
For sure. What about you?
Oh,
there's so many, right?
Yeah, it's probably Boy Meets World. Now that I think about it, I'm like, is there anything that I look forward to more? I don't know. I mean, I think earlier on, before Boy Meets World, it was kind of in the Full House era.
Full House, Family Matters, probably.
Family Matters, yeah. But I kind of grew out of those into a Boy Meets World era, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering the timeline right.
You had Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Remember that one? That was a banger, too. I love that show. There was a bunch of Perfect Strangers. You remember the one with Balky? You remember that show? Bronson Pinchot and that was a great
throwback.
One.
I mean, this is why we need the freaks to give us their favorites so that I can be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that show.
Yeah, right? Freaks, come out and let us know what's your favorite TGIF show. Because
around that same time, I got really into must see TV on Thursdays on
NBC.
right? So those were a little bit more adult, but also I was super into Nick at Night. So I was watching
yeah.
like Gilligan's Island, Bewitched, The Monkees,
Yep.
The Andy Griffith Show. I mean,
Yep.
these are like my parents' generation shows, but I got really into them.
That's back when Nick at Night was all black and white. It was.
Yep.
Now it's like
The Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, now you turn it on and it's Friends. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh,
this was
that kills me.
Yeah. I love me some Friends, but I don't think that's a Nick at Night old enough. Yeah, we're going to keep going, but we better not. Love Boy Meets World. We don't need any final thoughts on this. I am Just Blane. She is Coco. This is Parallel Frequencies. You are the freaks, and we will see you on the other side. Holy crap.